Hey guys, welcome to another segment of Word of the Day. This is Caesar with Inspire Movement. Thank you so much for joining us. It's something that we never take lightly, and we hope that you're always benefiting from the words that we're sharing with you. Today we're exploring the word pride. So with pride, we think of a feeling of deep satisfaction or pleasure towards one's own accomplishments, or possibly the accomplishments of others close to us, or maybe something as possessions or qualities that we know that other people admire that we have, and we're taking pride over that. There's also a more toxic form of pride, is which when you think of yourself as being superior or greater or better than everybody else. This is more commonly termed as hubristic pride, and the former, or the latter that I mentioned, is authentic pride. So authentic pride is positive, hubristic pride is something negative. With authentic pride, think of it like you have this goal that you're aspiring to reach. You've finally reached that goal through a tremendous, strenuous hard work, and you feel a sense of pride. You feel good about yourself because you've done something based on your own merit and effort, and you've achieved it. That's authentic pride. Think of it as a sense of drive for achievement and greatness. That's the best way to define that. When you think of hubristic pride again, you're thinking of I'm better than others, I'm more deserving than others, I'm just superior and better innately for no particular reason, I'm just better. That's that arrogance and egotism that comes with that hubristic pride. So how do we categorize more specifically if we're experiencing that hubristic pride or that toxic pride? One such way is if you're overly sensitive towards things. So if you overreact to things, or if you're easily hurt and irritated, then more than likely you're a prideful person in a negative way. If you experience some form of bitterness as well. So if you really have a hard time forgiving others that have maybe have wronged you, or maybe even asking for forgiveness when you've done something wrong to somebody else, then you're also exemplifying this form of toxic pride. There's also the issue of having a negative perspective towards other people. So you're a fault finder. You're always looking for something that someone else is doing, and you're never able to look in the mirror and say, well, what about me, right? So there's no really sort of that self-assessment of how you're doing. You're always looking outwardly. You're unteachable. So you're unteachable. You always have a hard time taking any sort of constructive criticism or rebuke. So you're not really able to be taught. And I think the last thing that I can think of is if you're a bad listener. So if you're a bad listener, you're always going to tune out other people's emotions, right? Other people's perspectives don't really mean anything to you. If you fall into any one of those categories that I previously mentioned, then more than likely you're struggling with this form of toxic pride. So how do we overcome? How do we get better from this condition if we're potentially suffering from it? Well, we've actually looked at these three beautiful words in the past through previous segments, and that is forgiveness. We've studied also humility, and lastly we've studied love. So humility takes you having that self-acknowledgement that there is something that you're struggling with, right? So that would be the first thing. I'm struggling with toxic pride. I'm messing up my really close, intimate relationships. It's affecting relationships both at home, at work. It's keeping me from where I want to go. So I'm dealing with this toxic pride. That would be step number one. Secondly, ask for forgiveness. So if you've wronged somebody, go ahead and seek them out and seek forgiveness. Accept forgiveness from other people as well. That's equally as important. When somebody's wronged you and they come with you with a full heart and say, hey, I'm sorry for having done this to you, you're actually accepting of it. And lastly, rather than let any negative emotion come at the forefront, let love be the guide, right? So always be sort of a loving and loving in nature, and that'll also help you. So how do I reflect with this word pride? Well, for me personally, I know I struggled quite a bit with hubristic or this toxic pride, particularly in close relationships, and that's mostly when we struggle with that, right? So I think I've mentioned having been married for quite a long time to the same person, to my wife, which I love very much today, but I've hurt very much as well in the past through pride. So the form of, or the way that it manifested in me many times, in any relationship that you have, you're going to have conflict, right? I mean, it's just par for the course, right? It's almost human nature that in cohabiting with someone for so many days and so many months and so many years, you're going to not see eye to eye in some way, shape, or form sometime. But what happens when you do? Is it something that you sort of get over within 15 minutes? Does it last an hour? Does it last a day? Does it last a week? Well, for me, for large swaths of my marriage, I can honestly say it could have been weeks. So I could have been sleeping with my wife in the same bed and not accepting a forgiveness from her, or even seeking out forgiveness for something that I may have done because I was bitter. And bitterness is a sure telltale sign that you are a prideful person, and it's hard for you to get out of yourself, get out of that shell of pride, and actually, be more human, be more receptive to other people's feelings. So I can tell you firsthand, it's toxic. It's damaging emotionally in so many ways to relationships that you want to keep, that it's not worth you fostering and doing nothing about it. So if I can engender anything to anyone watching this video, please acknowledge that you're dealing with it. If anything resonates with you, don't let it just stay idle. Do something about it, and know that if you have this really hard time seeking out people to ask for forgiveness or accepting forgiveness, like I had that issue with my wife, that needs to stop for your own better benefit. And always put love first, right? So it takes humility to know that we have faults. It takes a lot of grace, self-grace, in order to allow ourselves to be better and to reflect on the things that we've done wrong to other people, and to receive grace from others also, so that they can allow us to be better and do better for ourselves. So with that, I hope that you find my reflections on this word pride useful to you. It's something that that we do from the heart, and we kind of throw ourselves out there for you. Please give us some positive or negative feedback, albeit on Instagram, Facebook. Try to sync up with us on YouTube as well through subscriptions. We just want to hear from you and engage. Any positive or negative criticism is accepted. So with that, I hope you guys have a blessed week, and I hope to see you guys again for our next segment.